that Bitcoin, or like the blockchain, claims to have solved isn't really solved until post hyper Bitcoinization. When every other currency that can be duplicated or conjured out of thin air or counterfeited, every time you use a currency like that, that is inflationary, you are not helping solving the actual double spending problem. So the double spending problem is tied to hyper Bitcoinization in a sense. So I try to explain these ideas and explore them to explore the idea vectors to wherever they lead me. And
so in other words, when you look at these other altcoins as they're known, or fiat money, or even gold, they become derivatives of Bitcoin, but eventually that derivative market disappears.
Yeah, eventually. But this may take 10 years or 10,000 years. We don't know for sure, of course. And people will trade other stuff than Bitcoin. So yeah, it's a weird thing to think about, a deflationary global currency.
So it's perfect. Would you say it's perfect deflation? I mean, that's just a phrase I'm throwing out there without a lot of, I'm just wondering, how would you respond to a phrase like that? Perfect deflation.
So eventually people will lose Bitcoin over time. So the percentage of Bitcoin that will come off market because people hodl them or lose them or whatever will just be enormous. Like the actual amount of Bitcoins on the market will shrink at a faster rate than people think. And this, you have the increasing demand on one side and the diminishing supply, even diminishing supply, not limited supply, but diminishing supply on the other side. And you get this freakish price rise at some point.
So let's talk about physics for a second and the thermodynamics. People in the know tend to talk about Bitcoin in terms of the second law of thermodynamics, which I believe is the conservation of energy. And you're saying, can you just review that a little bit? Because what exactly, how are you making a departure there?
It's connected to both the first and the second law of thermodynamics. Like the law of energy can never be created nor destroyed. It can just be converted into different types of energy. And what physics nerds have a problem with, and I do too, is like saying that the electrical energy is converted into monetary energy, because there's no such thing as monetary energy in physics. So even physical objects, everything is just made up of information at its core. So it makes perfect sense to find an element that can be expressed through information only, through data only. And this is what Bitcoin is. It is a new element in this sense. And the information about it is the element. When you've proven that you've found it by doing the proof of work and showing that you have a hash beginning with X amount of zeros, you have proven that you're the legit owner and of this element, and no one can take it from you because you're the one with the private key if you have the block reward and the block subsidy. So it's not really my opinion. It is a reality we have to adapt to. There now exists an informational element, whether we like it or not. And of course, these are just my words of describing what this phenomenon is. You can describe it in very many ways, as you know, but I think it provides a nice framework.
So you're talking, okay, about the supply side of the equation in terms of there's 21 million, there's a finite supply.
And it's not only our lives, but our children's lives and our grandchildren's lives. So once you realize how huge this idea is, yes, I do think it drives something. It changes you more than you can change it, definitely. And I also argue in the book for it being in a symbiotic relationship with you, since if your head is the only place where your private key exists and you die, your Bitcoins die with you. They literally die with you. But the value of the network on a whole stays the same, so each remaining Bitcoin increases in value when Bitcoins are taken off the market. And in this sense, hodling is different than saving in this sense, because saving, you save stuff in order to sell at the later point, but hodling, inanimate objects can hodl, dead people can hodl. Imagine Hal Finney, he cryo froze his head before he died. Imagine that he memorized a private key, and we find out a way to resurrect him in like 500 years, and his mind remembers this key, so he can unlock the Bitcoin after having been resurrected in a different body. I mean, you literally are your Bitcoin. There is no distinction between you and your Bitcoin. It's the same entity in a way. And right now, Bitcoin needs you and your mind in order for Bitcoin to survive. It needs people. But at some point in the future, people will need Bitcoin to survive also. Like it will go the other way around as well.
Okay,
right now, you can toss a coin 256 times and receive whatever amount of money you want and cross a border, any border in the world. So it blurs out, like, humans are so glad for, we're so keen to put things in neat little boxes and say, this is life, this is death, this is time, this is money, this is this, and this is that. Well, what Bitcoin is doing right now is blurring out the lines between not only knowing and owning, but it's making people question what they actually value in life. I'm a perfect example of it. I think I sold my time I too cheaply before when I had the fiat job. So, and I think everyone underestimates the value of their time, because you have one shot at life. You better do something with it. It's not a rehearsal. And maybe this is a roundabout answer to your question, but I think in time people will value Bitcoin more because it's such a perfect representation of this scarcity of time. And I think Bitcoin's price, as Jeff Booth says, it's a lagging indicator of people's understanding of money, or people's understanding of values.
So when you talk about that, one can't help but notice that there's a great deal of entropy and disintegration happening in the world, whether it's all the lockdowns, the pandemics, the wars, the money printing. It seems that there's a lot of chaos when you look outside the world of Bitcoin Twitter, for example. You look out there and you just go, oh my God, like what is going on? Did Bitcoin cause that to happen? Did it accelerate that timeline? It was inevitable, I'm assuming, but like, what's that relationship between Bitcoin and that fiat world?
I don't think it accelerated the fiat decay at all. I think the fiat decay was already there and would have happened anyway. What it did is provide some of us with an airbag or a parachute to dampen the inevitable collapse that is happening everywhere. And because Bitcoin helps the mind see the signal through the noise.